This is Lance Cleveland, the author of the Store Locator Plus plugin. I'm going to go over some of the technical implementation details that have just come out with Store Pages and Store Locator Plus. The reason I'm focusing on this Store Pages and Store Locator Plus is that I am using the REST API built into WordPress and using some JavaScript methodologies for building this interface for a store page. So I'm going to go over some of the details on how that's done so you can get an idea of how I'm thinking we should be moving forward as far as future iterations of Store Locator Plus and using REST as well as JavaScript as a way to get data back and forth to the client applications, whether they're mobile or web-based in real time. So with Store Pages 4402, one of the things that you'll notice when this page loads, I've got Firefox with developer tools enabled, is it does a GET request. And that GET request is to draw this map. Now in the past, this data used to draw this map was passed in using localized scripts from WordPress, and it was passing all the data in real time, including the data for the map. And that was causing all sorts of problems because of the timing on the rendering of this map from the Google servers versus the timing of the data coming in and how it was formatted and that sort of stuff. So what we're doing is we're using the REST interface, which is a GET request. And you can see here, here's the GET request going to the WP JSON Store Locator Plus V1 locations 151. This will fetch all the data for that specific location. And then it will return that data in a JSON encoded string, and here's all the raw data from that particular location. If they're extended data fields, that will also be in here. So the way that's working is with Store Pages, I'm using the Store Locator Plus 4.4 add-on framework, and with that add-on framework, all I need to do is define my interface class name, and I want to put it in class interface PHP in an include folder. And you can see that that is loaded here by using this init function, extending the base add-on class. Use the init function, which is always called to start this, and then giving it a name of a user interface class name. And what that will do is that will actually automatically look to see if this file exists, the class user interface, and then it will run the initialization of it. Now, one of the things this is doing when it's rendering the page itself is it's actually outputting a div. And what you'll see here is in this generate map function, I'm generating a div, outputting HTML to the screen, just as you would rendering of any other shortcode. And it's actually putting the div ID in here. And one of the tricks I'm using to get that location ID is I'm actually using the HTML5 data standards. So I'm using data location ID and outputting that into the actual HTML that's rendered in real time via process shortcodes. So the other trick to this is whenever you have class user interface active, you will also be able to create a file called userinterface.js within the include directory. If that exists, the base class in Store Locator Plus for the add-on framework will actually check to see if this file exists, and if it does exist, it will enqueue it automatically. So this file is being enqueued automatically just by having a class called user interface and making sure that that user interface class name is defined here when I instantiate that instance. Now, what happens on the actual rendering of the page in real time is when that page finishes loading, this is the actual rendering of an individual store page. It's going to call these methods using jQuery. This is standard WordPress jQuery here. I think it's 171 at this as of the time of this video. And it's going to just run standard JavaScript here. It's going to initialize the map. And you can see right here, I'm looping through on the page. The reason I'm doing a loop is for a single static page, for example, this will only be one instance. But if you list an entire stack of pages, for example, the list of all the store page types, then you're going to have more than one of these location map divs. And then what it's going to do is it's going to actually find each of those divs and extract this HTML5 location ID into the variable here. Then it's going to fire off the GET request to JSON to actually fetch the location data, the full stack of location data. And then once that comes back, since this is asynchronous, we have to actually do this basically out of order, and so we can't guarantee when this will come back, but assuming it comes back with a valid response, it will actually fire off the thing to build the map. And you can see here it's actually talking to Google, giving it a new canvas ID to attach to with the new div ID, and then dropping the marker on the map, and it will do that in an asynchronous fashion for the pages. So it actually keeps everything in sync. Basically says, hey, whenever the data comes back, then go queue up Google, because now we know we have live data, and then drop it on the page. So a lot of little tricks here built into this one seemingly simple interface. At the end of the day, it allows me to do things like render this page, uses a GET request to fetch all this data, or more importantly, when we list an entire stack of pages like we do here, that it's going to go through the entire system. You can see it doing the gets for each of these location IDs and allowing it to render these maps as soon as the data comes back for each location in a stack. So a lot of tricks in Store Locator Plus 4.4.23 and Store Pages, and it's just the very first foray I've made into using REST as well as JavaScript to make more responsive and better user experiences. Again, very rudimentary, but shows you some of the things to kind of get you up and running with your own add-on packs. Hopefully that helps. If you have any questions, of course, shoot me an email at lance@storelocatorplus.com.